Yeah, welcome to the Making of Me podcast. Today guest is Sarah Marshall, a novelist, explorer, lifelong learner, and 20 times Burning Man participant. Sarah's journey span military service, global exploration, corporate leadership, and decades of creativity. Her new novel, Player Dust, is in my soul. A man from this lifetime of experience, weaving theme and transformation, belonging, and liminal space where people become who they are meant to be. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Sarah.
It's a pleasure to be here, Aro. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, thank you. So, Sarah, what challenge shaped you into who you are today?
Well, there are plenty to talk about, and I think we're human beings. We're just full of challenges that shape and shift us. I would say the number one thing that is something that I've had to really grow into is that I'm a trans woman and stayed in the closet throughout my youth because it was too dangerous to come out, and finally did and came to terms with it. And it really shaped me. At first, it was just kind of front and center in my identity. And slowly, as I matured into it and got comfortable with myself, it came into the background, but very much because I attended my first Burning Man fairly early into my transition. It was a big shaper of who I am today because it helped me to figure out that I didn't have to have that identity in front of me. It could just be part of me.
So, you have moved between world that really intersect military service, corporate strategy, and Burning Man, and the creative arts. How has this been a perpetual border cross shape your worldwide view?
Yeah, I would say a lot of my early experiences before I transitioned was all about sublimating these anxieties about who I was and trying to prove that I could fit into the world. And the interesting thing is, I was very successful at looking successful in the world, while internally I felt horrible and I felt like I was wrong and things weren't working right. So I jumped on this train to prove myself to be normal and in mainstream. And what it actually did is gave me a global journey. I've spent time in many parts of the world, having many kinds of different experiences. And it shaped me into a spiritual journeyist, traveling, looking for myself when I just really needed to get to me in the first place.
So, Burning Man has been a part of your life for over 20 years now, over 2 decades. What lessons has this play have taught you about in performance or communities and human creativities that you carry into everyday life?
Yeah, great question. So, a lot of people, when they hear about Burning Man, they think it's just this big party in the desert. And it just has this reputation as being this crazy, off the hook party event. And the reality of it for me is very different. It is a large event. It's when I first went there, there was something like 18, 19,000 people. Today, if you go out there, 80,000 people. It's the fourth largest city in Nevada for a week. And if if you just treated it as a party, I would have gotten bored the first time I was there, let alone the continuously go there and grow a community there. What happened was, well, there's a couple of things about Burning Man. Burning Man has 10 values. There's two things that really stood out for me that really shaped me in that first year and have driven me to come back over and over again. The first one is the gift economy. And the gift economy means that you're coming out there having taken care of everything that you need for yourself, and then you bring something additional for other people. And that something else can be anything you can imagine. It can be performing a show, it can be feeding people meals, it can be doing a service, it could be just what you do in your camp to give people entertainment. It's whatever you want to provide. And for me, what that did is it changed the cultural divide between people. Because if you were walking down the street in your local town or city and strangers just started offering you things, you'd be suspicious. I certainly would, because I'd want to know what the hooks are, what's attached to that, what are the strings. At Burning Man, it is the norm of culture for people to be generous. So it immediately drops that divide, that cultural wall between you and others, where you're intimately connected immediately over this act of generosity. And whether you're the giver or the receiver, you're now connected in relationship. And those relationships become intimate and deep very quickly, and they could last for a minute or they could last for a lifetime. But you have these connections with people that are incredibly deep just based on this gifting culture. And the second thing that really struck me was this whole idea of participation. That people that go out there are not observers. They don't go out there to watch and gawk and look at everybody else. They are part of the action. So anything that might be happening out there, you are immediately a part of, and you are an actor in the play, so to speak. So those two things were both very meaningful for me and very confronting because I was very closed off. I felt like I was apart from other people, and I didn't go out there to participate. I didn't want to be on display or on stage. So I didn't go out. And I had to work through that my first year. And to do that completely shifted my identity.
Amazing. So your novel, Player Dust in My Soul, took 2 decades to complete. How did patient professionalism, discipline, and personal growth intersect to allow these stories to finally emerge?
Yeah, I conceived of this idea in the kind of mid 2000s, and I tried to talk a lot of friends into writing the book. I have this idea, somebody should write this book. And of course, nobody took me up on it. People ran away from the idea. So I just felt so strongly about it that I needed to get it down. And I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And I'm embarrassed to say what the mountain of information that I wrote to create a story. But I was not a writer at the time. So I had to learn how to be a writer in my spare time when I wasn't working or wasn't in despair about whether I would be able to do it. So time and time again, I would put it down and then pick it up and then rewrite it, give it to folks, have them give me feedback, and then I would start into the process again. And really what it was it was like looking at a piece of rock and finding the horse in the rock and carving the horse out of the rock as the sculptors do. I had to carve this story out of this mountain of information based on the love that I have for this event and what it can do for people.
Wow, that was really amazing, and a whole level of dedication to it, and that was really amazing. So you have worked with our formerly incarcerated individual, helping organization break free or from systematic constraint. How did those experiences influence the theme and character in your novels?
Yeah, so all of my characters have a little piece of me in them, some more than others. And they also have parts and pieces of people that I met over the years. So every character in the novel, and there's seven of them that have these experiences, different experiences coming into Burning Man. Every one of them, I know somebody or some group of people that represent that particular kind of character that was previously incarcerated. Actually met somebody on the playa that had been released from prison early on a sentence. He was exonerated with proof, and he ended up at Burning Man 3 weeks after leaving prison. And I was boggled by that. The story that I wrote is completely fiction, but the character in landing on the playa from prison to complete expanse was somebody that I actually met.
Amazing, amazing. I think it's lovely seeing the fact that you're able to draw inspiration from the work you do and put it into writing. Yeah, it's really amazing. So you actually more like collaborate with your adult daughters on the novel, both in narrative development and in artwork. How did you navigate the balance between author, parents, and collaboration over such a long project?
Yeah. So, like I said, I handed this book off to hundreds of people over the
Hmm.
years because I had plenty of time to revise, hand it to somebody, get feedback. And so I have literally hundreds of teachers who have given me their thoughts and insights and helped me make this a better book. But I also had a couple of people in my life that really stepped up as a cheerleader or a partner in writing the book. The cheerleader I mentioned is Michelle in my acknowledgments. She just thought this story needed to be out there, and she was just continuously encouraging me, giving me critical feedback on things that made the book a little rough and where I could fix it. But she just never, for several years, she just never let down her energy in terms of supporting me to have this book birthed. The other one is my daughter, Rebecca Marshall. She was even more of a collaborator. Anytime she would read pieces of the book and she got inside the character, she would tell me where she thought I was falling short in writing that character or how that character would act or what that character would be like. So she inhabited each of the characters for me and really gave me a mirror on what I needed to do. She also provided all of the art. She's a graphic artist, and she provided all of the art, all the pictures, all the graphics in the book and the chapters. Those are all hers.
Amazing. Such level of collaboration towards bringing the book into life. That was really amazing. So your project tagline is our designing strategy you can actually execute. Why your novel emphasizes emotional truth and memory. How do you reconcile precision with the mercilessness of life experience in your creative?
Yeah. So what Burning Man represents to me is a community. It's a, and there are lots of, little sub communities within the community, but it's a community out on the desert. And when I first went out there, avoided community. I would be on the peripheries of community, but I never really wanted to step in. And what this book is about, and what all of the characters represent in their dysfunctions, is wanting to belong, but not knowing how. And belonging has two parts. Belonging has to have an invitation. The community has to invite you in, and then you also have to accept it. And we human beings don't accept those kinds of invitations if we don't think we deserve it. And each one of my characters has some version of feeling like they don't deserve it. And they have to go through their journeys to get to the other side.
Wow. That was really amazing. So what parallel did you see between building temporary city like Bonima and happy organizations and individual rebuild their life?
Well, I would say that Burning Man is a transformational experience. Virtually all of the communities that I've ever joined has provided me some level of transformation because there was something I needed to step through to get to the other side to participate in that community. A women's spiritual community, a runners community. I used to run marathons, and those people had a certain way of doing things, and I had to step through something to get there. And each community I've ever really stepped into and joined and embraced is because I learned how to transform myself at Burning Man to be able to embrace that community.
Amazing. So looking back, what single lessons from your life spanning explorations, transformation, and decades of creative practice do you most want your readers to listen and listeners to take away?
So there's a thing that I used to do, what I called Trans 101. I'd go to schools, public speaking events, and talk about what it was to be trans and what that process was. But the thing that I always wanted to get across to people was not anything about being a transgender person. It was about self-acceptance. So traveling the path of actually being yourself and accepting and fully embracing yourself. And in my mind, everybody has that journey to take. There is something that everybody has that they haven't completely accepted about themselves, and that gets in the way of them being a full human being, being fully engaged in community, being a participant in life. So for me, it's about fully accepting yourself, and everybody has that. Nobody cannot identify with that thing. The biggest driver for me is finding a place of self-acceptance.
Finding the place of self-acceptance. I think this is very key, being that a whole lot of persons grow admiring some particular kind of traits and they cannot just imagine that they have the opposite of it, and sometimes they don't accept themselves, which cause a limiting belief and wouldn't make them go all out to do the work they want to do. And it's really amazing that you just speak volumes to that. Thank you, Sarah. So, Sarah, for my audience who want to connect, reach out to you. Where is the best platform to do this?
The best place to do it is on my website for the book, and it's the website is Playa Dust in My Soul, all one word, .com. PlayaDustInMySoul.com. And both has the book there, and it has my contact information if people want to reach out to me.
Thank you for sharing your real and deeply reflective perspective on transformations, or deeply reflective transformation, belonging, and space where people become what they are actually meant to be. A listener can actually explore her novels, or they're going to see the link on the show notes. Once again, it's really a pleasure having you on the Making of Me podcast.